You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, we're in September, and it is feeling really, really good right now. I cannot tell you, this past week has been a week full of surprises, lots of interesting updates, news that I have been really excited to be able to finally share, and I'm just feeling fabulous. I just cannot just express how excited I'm to do this particular episode, because there's just been so much that has happened, and a lot of you all have been following on social media and everything, of course. And each day I was like, oh, I can't wait to do this podcast, because I know there's so much stuff that you all have been seeing, and I can't wait to expound on it. So let's get to it. First of all, I am loving my new place. I'm in love with it. As you all saw, we had our first fully cooked dinner at the new abode. We did something very special. We're doing this thing, I guess now that we're, finally, kind of fully in, still waiting for my table, but I'm not going to gripe about it, but it's coming this week. Finally, this table that I've been waiting for the living room is finally coming. And after that, everything else will probably most likely be set. Little things here and there, but the table I've been waiting for, and I didn't want to give up on this table. They were like, oh, we could just refund you. I'm like, no. If you could resend it again, I'll take it. I really, really want this table, because this table and chair set really matches my place. And this is a table that sits 6 people, because, I want a big table. Most of my friend group is around 6, main court folks. I want to be able to have, dinners and things with them there. And so I just need this table. And it's coming. They're resending it. They said it's going to come in the next couple of days. So hopefully it does. But I'm really looking forward to that. But we've been doing this thing that we're starting now that we're fully, for the most part, in of cooking Sunday dinners, because Sundays mostly for us are non-busy days for the most part. We don't really have anything going on Sundays. Every other day, even from Monday through Saturday, there's always something going on. But Sundays tend to be days that we have to ourselves, and it's an opportunity for me to, oftentimes I record the podcast on Sunday and just relax. And so we're, doing this alternate Sunday situation where we're cooking meals. So this week, Mr. Johnson wanted to cook, and he cooked this delicious Persian lamb shank and this Persian rice with the salad, and it was divine. It was a Persian lamb shank and chicken, and then it was this Persian rice situation with the pomegranates, in the rice. It was it was a really good rice. It was a saffron rice with pomegranates, and it had a really good, it was given a Lebanese Persian type of vibe as far as the theme of the food, the spices and everything. And he found this great recipe online, and he cooked it all, the whole thing, and the salads and everything. And the desserts, however, we got from Soraya. Soraya has the best pastries. They're a Lebanese restaurant, one of the best restaurants in Philadelphia. One of the best. It's not my ultimate best, but it is definitely top 10 on my list. And the food there is incredible. And they've been ranked number 1 on best restaurants in Philadelphia magazine. And they're really good. They're really, really good. They're in Fishtown, and Soraya is just phenomenal. That tasting menu is one of the best tasting menus in the city. So that I'll give to them overall. Different cultural experience for those who just want to try something that's different. It's not just the new American Italian vibe. You want to just kind of go somewhere and do something fun and flavorful and also reasonably priced. Soraya is awesome for that. But you got to make sure you make a reservation, okay? You just can't walk up in there, because it is definitely highly popular, of course. But we got the pastries from there, and it was these various croissants, and it was they had a cronut situation there with these pistachio on top with this nice sauce. It was incredible. But the dinner was wonderful, and we had a Syrah wine, which is a really good red wine, a really full-bodied wine to go with it, which complements that type of food. and we put it in this decanter and let it stay out for a couple hours. And this is the first time I've used the decanter in a long time. This decanter was purchased to me by my good friend Tahit Chappelle, who got it for us for our wedding, and we finally opened it last week, and we used it for the first time for this first meal. So it felt like a christening almost for dinner, and it was phenomenal. It was speechless. I am so fortunate to have a husband that knows how to bartend, but then also knows how to cook. And I know how to cook too. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to cook next week, but whatever I'm cooking is going to involve steak because I'm a steak person. But I was very impressed. That lamb was divine. I mean, that was some good ass lamb. I haven't had lamb like that in I don't know how long. Maybe since Zahav, actually. Zahav had a lamb shake, and I had a lamb shake at Zahav that was phenomenal, of course. And so this was phenomenal and just as good. And such a nice night. It was such a really delicious dinner. Sipping great wine, watching great TV on this big screen. It was good times indeed. I'm trying to have my good Judy Amanda come over this weekend. I'm gonna cook some food and before I get into Sunday supper vibes, but I'm gonna cook some have her over for a nice little Saturday situation. But she's out here making plans with a bunch of randos. I'm joking, I'm being shady. I'm just bothering her right now because I know she's listening to the podcast, so I'm just giving her a hard time. But no, she's when we're not playing movers, she's out here making plans with folks. So we're excited about that. And just to add insult to injury, since I'm on my groove, I'm super excited about a wedding I'm going to in November. A good friend of mine is having a wedding in Dallas, and I've been looking at some weddings and looking at people who are throwing weddings and how they're throwing weddings. But, my good friend, she is having us come, and she's providing hotel for all of her out of town travelers who are coming. And I'm just so grateful for her for that, because that's just, when you're planning a wedding to find different ways to accommodate your guests, letting them know if there's a rehearsal dinner. I don't know, just different things. I'm not speaking about anyone or anything in particular. I'm just, talking out loud. It's just very nice to have friends who can plan weddings and be this very intentional and thoughtful, because, we're in a different era. There's inflation, recessions, and everything else. And folks just can't be out here waiting with their money. So it's always thoughtful when you have people who plan good weddings. As a person who planned a good wedding myself, I can always appreciate those who do. So this friend of mine who's having her wedding in November, I'm so excited for her wedding. I'm super excited. I'm going to another wedding at the end of September, and is it thoughts and prayers? I guess bless their heart. I'll be at that one too. But yes, I'm super excited that my friend is making plans. My good Judy Amanda will see each other over the weekend, and I'm going to be testing out some new ideals. I mean, I feel like I've been out of the technology food loop for a little bit, because ever since, our engagement, Mr. Johnson, I first got, engaged, we didn't have all this cooking equipment. So I completely have not used the air fryer until, this past week since I moved into my new spot. And so air fryers, I love it. I get the hype now. I love air fryers. Now I'm a little, I'm black. So the way I use air fryers is a little bit different from some of my folks. I don't trust air fryers 100%. But I look at it as a good starting point, So when I first did the air fryer, we did sweet potato fries. Some of them fries was a little raw, some of them. So it was okay, look, we got to look at it carefully. We got to make sure we put it all the way in. I don't know. You got to, air fryers, you got to be mindful with it. But let me tell you what has not disappointed me. This George Foreman smokeless grill that is like a mini, it's it's not a big ass grill like the big huge ones that you see some people use. It's a nice, one that isn't the old school George Foreman grills where, the old school ones, you kind of, they're like small, super small. This one is really, really nice. And it has cooked things to perfection. I've made burgers on it. I've made little things before we got into this big full-fledged meal. But I made little snacks on it, and it is phenomenal. It is worth every penny. Whoever bought me that in the wedding registry, thank you. I can't remember everyone who bought every single item, but thank you for that, whoever bought that. And to the air fryer, my good Judy Sharon bought the air fryer. I think she bought the air fryer, or did she buy the Instant Pot? One of them. Thank you for that. Some of y'all know who y'all are. And I've been making drinks with my Vitamix. which I would have never personally probably would have been motivated by a Vitamix myself. But this big blender, I've been making juices and things, so that's like my new routine in the morning. And as a result, I've been cutting back on my caviar and Uber Eats expenses. I know. I'm feeling, I'm adjusted because y'all know I love me some Uber Eats and some caviar. But I'm like, look, I got the new stuff now. It's motivating me to make my own food and kind of resist the urge to just instantly order. Because that's my thing. I've been always like, oh, I can just order this. And it's like, now I'm like, look, I got food at the house. I can make me a smoothie now. I can make me a drink. Maybe that's what it is. And so that has really put me in an interesting space. And people say, oh, you'll save money. And I mean, yeah, cool. But I also like the idea of being able to, you know, make stuff at home and have a fridge, a really, really nice fridge, and have the food and everything I need. Because my old place, y'all, I have to tell you, I just was so, at the end, the final like 2 years, it didn't feel like a home because I was just up and moving. I didn't really have time to really invest in the space, and I was just so mentally ready to move. And so like I just was like, I'm not going to get serious about cooking here. This isn't where I'm supposed to be. And so now where I'm at, I'm like, okay, there's no excuses. I got a cutting board, I got knives, I got air fryers, grills, Vitamixes, Instapots. I got all that shit. So I don't have an excuse to not, do the best. Be my best in cooking and doing things. So it's been good so far. A full weekend. I'm loving it. It's feeling really good. So I can't complain there. So yeah. But yes. So I've been hiding this from y'all for several weeks. And as you all know, the big news came out, the big announcement. I have an audiobook coming out. So the audiobook version of The Case for Council Culture is going to be narrated by yours truly, myself, Ernest, of course. And I am narrating the audiobook of my book. And that feels fucking good. I'm so happy I can finally tell you all. I was sitting on my hands, but there's a rollout. And I respect the rollout. The rollout for this book thus far has been tremendous. I can't complain. Everything is going on without a hitch. The scheduling, the planning, the execution, the flavor, the vibe, everything has been going really, really well. The enthusiasm, and I just really appreciate it. We're less than 6 months away from the book coming out. February 21st, 2023. Okay, this book is coming. And it's interesting because, I'm a Libra. My husband is an Aquarius. So, we had a Libra wedding and Aquarius, birth of this book. So I'm super excited about it. The audiobook version is wonderful. There's a lot of people who have said to me now that some people have seen advanced copies and reading it. Someone said halfway reading it was like, who else could write this book but me? Read this book but me, of course. I can write it, but who else could narrate and do the audio version but me? And listen, common sense isn't always common, right? There, it's not, everything is not guaranteed. A lot of writers, right, and authors, let me say authors because this is a book. A lot of authors do not always do their audiobook. A lot of authors do not do their audiobook. So, it's not common. Sometimes they'll get a celebrity or a really good voice actor or talent to do the book. I think about people like David Dennis Jr., who's an incredible author who wrote the book The Movement Made Us. He did not do the audio version of his book, his book with his father. He didn't do it. Someone else did. And it's an incredible book. I encourage you all to read it. It's about the civil rights movement, it's about fatherhood and being a son, about Black fatherhood, activism, movement work. I mean, it's just an incredible book. Highly, highly recommended. It's soared on the indie bestsellers list. And he didn't do the audio version of his book. I don't know why he didn't, but someone else did. And so it is not a common thing. So when people see people write books, people say, oh, the audiobook, are you doing an audiobook? Are you going to do it? It's like, it's not guaranteed. It takes negotiations and contracts, and, you have to have, for some people, the time to do it, and also the energy and the talent to do it, And so I was very fortunate that in the process, a lot of people said that this podcast paid off. You damn Skippy did. I can now talk a little bit of shit. Yeah, being able to say, hey, I've done audio before. Like this, I have a voice, and my voice is as powerful as my writing, and it comes through. And people read my articles, and they read it in my voice. And this book can't be done by anyone else. The inflections, the excitement, the enthusiasm, the emotion, like that, this is my story. part of it is, right? It's semi-autobiographical, but also very much so informal, insightful to a certain extent, right? It's a combination of both. But the way that I break things down, the way I talk about things, I know you all want to hear that in my voice. And so it was awesome to be able to get the green light on that, and also to get, the contract, because, the book contract I signed was for writing the book, not doing the audiobook. So, it was another check for that, you know what I'm saying? It was a little other, gotta get a little, get cut for that too. So that had to get straightened out, and that did, and all that went wonderful. So you'll both be able to read me in the physical book and audiobook, and it'll be a read along. So I would encourage people out there, my super fans, if you was wondering, if you was sitting on the fence, wondering, if you should get the audiobook, well, you should get it, because also there's gonna be some cool bonus things. I can't discuss what's the bonus stuff, but there will be some cool bonus things that will come with the audiobook that will not be included in the physical book, because audiobooks are special and you can do different things with audiobooks that you can't do with print books. So if you get the audiobook, there are going to be some other bonus things that's going to come along with the audiobook. And for those who are audiobook readers, you've read previous audiobooks, you know that audiobooks never just is just the book. Sometimes it is, but sometimes there's other little bonus fun things that come with it. So that will definitely be with the case for Council Culture. And so I encourage you both. Some of you all jumped up and got the audiobook in the spring, early summer. So, I would say get the audiobook. And the audiobook costs less than the physical copy book. So get both, or get one or the other. Or if you already got the physical copy, get the audio copy. Because all of these sales will go towards the first week's sales to help it, chart well and do well, right? So look, we're all doing it, right? If y'all can stand for Beyonce, who's not giving y'all visuals as of right now, y'all can stand for me, who's giving you all, physicals and audios. No visuals yet, but I'm giving y'all physicals and audios. So, I appreciate the support. I'm super excited about it. Other great things is coming up. You all probably saw the social media post, the memo. Ernestly Speaking is now going to be on TV. There is a special election edition that I'm doing, a special series, a special thing. So for all of you all know, Ernestly Speaking in 2015 started off, well, let me back this up. 2010, Ernestly Speaking was a radio show that was a college radio show. In 2010, when I was a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania, did that for several years, several seasons. In 2014, it ended because I finished my 4-year study at Penn at my undergraduate, got my bachelor's. And then 2015, got the opportunity to turn it into a TV show, which aired on Philly Cam for 2 seasons. That was from 2015 to 2016. And that was on, Philadelphia Community Access Media. And I did about, I think, 20 episodes of that show, I think. Yeah, and you can watch on my YouTube channel. If you go in, put in Ernestly Speaking, you can watch old episodes. These episodes are back from 2015. This was 7 years ago, y'all. Time flies. I've been in the game for a minute. People sleep on me. I've been in the game for a minute. Yes, 7 years ago I did this show. And, did many episodes, 2 seasons. And it was a fun experience. And what happened kind of was that I could have kept doing the show, but life happened. My visibility increased. My journalism career took off. And, I just couldn't find myself back having the time to go in the studio and kind of crank out those episodes, those studio episodes. So, moved on, got to be got on the board of Philly Cam, became the chairman of the board, finished my 6-year term early this year. And so since then, of course, what the enthusiasm of the fans of Ernestly Speaking over these years, people encouraged me to do that, do the TV show, do the radio show. And then, of course, the podcast. So this is the podcast. And the podcast has worked phenomenally well because it's flexible. It works under my schedule. And I have the ability to, do it and make it work and provide you all weekly podcast episodes and sometimes some bonus episodes, right? So it works. It works the best, I think, as a podcast for now. Now, if there's some money and some checks and some time and some whatever, oh yeah, we could do a TV show. MSNBC, CNN. I don't know about CNN right now, y'all. You've been hearing about CNN lately. But MSNBC, somebody, if y'all want to, bring it on a cable news channel, y'all want to advocate, let's see what happens there, right? That'd be goals, right? But the podcast works in so many different ways. It's very comfortable, very versatile. I'm producing it independently, so I have the ability to pick my own topics. I'm working, by myself on it and providing great content. TV show, you have to work with a crew, and everybody have to have the same schedule and time, and it's only so much you can do. So, I've done the podcast, but a lot of you all have loved over the past, 2 years, nearly 2 years I've been doing this show. You all have been loving the aspect that there's an element to it that's engaging or live or something outside of the traditional podcast format. So mentally, my plan is to always provide something like that once a year at least. It could change, but last year it was my big, huge 30th birthday bash, which we did a live recording, and some lucky fans got to go to the live screening and recording. And there's some people that are like diehard fans of this podcast, and so I know who they are. They know who I am. We get in, we chit chat a little bit on the Instagram DMs. And so anytime an opportunity like that come, I always think of them to invite them to the mix, and they show up and they're so happy. So I am super excited to announce that there will be a special live television opportunity recording of broadcasting of Ernestly Speaking, but it'll be done in a TV format style. It's a 30-minute episode. Now, here's how this works. There's going to be a live audience that's going to be going to a studio in Philadelphia. That will be Sunday, September 25th. They will be at the studio. And they've already gotten their invitations. So they already know who they are. They're going to be there. It's only a small group of people because of COVID restrictions and things. They'll be at the live recording. Now, we're going to do the live recording. The time so there's two portions. So there's a live studio audience. They know what time they need to be at the studio. So y'all need to be at the studio based on those directions. But there is a virtual audience component. So people who, I really was very big on trying to broaden the scope and the audience for this, to be able to experience this. And so at this studio that we're going to be recording at, doing the show and doing the filming at, there is a screen that opens up to virtual attendees. So if you ever watched the Wendy Williams show or Ellen, I haven't watched Ellen in a minute, but like Ellen and all those shows, right? That, like even Drew Barrymore, when Drew Barrymore did her show, there was like a screen that showed all the multiple people watching at home or watching virtually. That will be you all, the public, everyone else who wants to attend this. There is a Zoom link, an invitation, RSVP, and you'll be given the Zoom link and all the details. But this will be on Sunday, and we're taping during that session for that hour. And you can basically get this backstage access to basically watch the show being filmed and basically be a part of the experience. And the screen and everything will be in the background, and you'll be able to see myself, and I'll be able to see you all, and you'll be a part of the audience in a way. Now, mind you, there'll probably be a mute so that you won't like laugh or what if your TV screen acts up or something, but you'll be able to watch everything and engage. And so it's going to be a fun, interactive, virtual experience for those watching in their workspaces or at home. And then the audience in person will be there for their portion who was able to make it to that space. So it's a cool experience. If you want to be able to watch the show, if you're free on that Sunday afternoon to be able to watch the show and experience it that way, it is all on my social media, link in bio, on my Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens, of course, as you all know. And there is the link in bio, and you can click on my link tree, and there is a special tab for you to click on to RSVP for that virtual experience. Now, for the people who got the personal invitation for the actual studio instructions, I expect to see you there at the time listed, because you got to get the information and the things, but it's going to be a very super dope time. Lots of fun, lots of opportunities to just have a great time. So I'm super excited about that. The episode is election special, so we'll be talking about the upcoming midterm elections specifically, and the audience and everyone will be engaging on how they feel about the candidates, how they feel about the race, how they feel about voting, all of that jazz. It's going to be a really, really tight episode. It's going to air on television throughout October on Philly Cam, so Philadelphia Community Access Media, which is in Philly. All the details for the episode will be airing on television. So we're going to tape it live, but it will not air live on TV that day. It will be edited and packaged, and then it will go out in October, all the way to the November 8th election. So this is something I personally care about. I really want to talk about elections because enough people out here just are either, not enthusiastic enough about it, or we're just not making it sexy or glam. So to me, I feel like it's important for us to make these moments important. We need to be engaging people and talking about these issues. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in everything that's happening that I sometimes think that we don't remember that there is a real election that's important. And I told myself, what can I do to lend my expertise and talent to expanding civic engagement and things? So I'm using my platform to get people excited about elections, to talk about them, because we're literally less than 2 months away from the general election in Philadelphia, the midterm elections. I mean, November 8th is a big deal for everybody, but yeah, we're less than 2 months away from that. So I want everyone to know what's going on. I want everybody to be going out, making sure they register to vote. I want everyone to be, taking this a little bit more seriously. So that will be coming up very soon. That episode is going to be very powerful. And the audience and their shares, I know there's going to be some lots of fun perspectives and flavors. So super excited about that. But yeah, I mean, that's everything on what's going on with me. I'm going back to school teaching my students. There was a break for Labor Day, so I'll be back at Cheney this week teaching the students. I'm getting familiar with my students. I'm getting very familiar with the freshmen in the seminar. It's interesting. I'm getting the whiff of all the little excuses and little things that's being trying it. I'm trying to be, first 2 weeks, I'm trying to be that professor that's adjustable, but I'm starting to get a little bit of combustion, getting a little combustible. But they're getting it. They're grooving along. It's too early to say yet, but get me by the end of October. I will give you an assessment how I feel. But so far, so good for now. So, in other news that's going on, so I got the Omicron, the dual booster, the bivalent booster vaccine flu shot. I got both. Feel good. I didn't have any headaches or anything like that. Shout out to Dr. Ayla Stanford. The work that they're doing, the Black Doctors COVID Consortium, they're doing some great work over there. She's not there as much, because she's doing the wonderful things that she's doing now. Dr. Ayla Stanford, the center is named after her, but she's out here doing some big things. I don't know if you all know, she's not health commissioner of Philadelphia, which I felt like, she's good at what she's doing now. She's the regional director of Region 3 of the U.S. Health Department, board certified. So she is the Region 3 regional director of Region 3 of the U.S. Department of Health. And she's doing some great work right now. She's really pushing the news, getting people to get the updated booster, which I got. I feel well. I also got my flu shot because I am hearing that whatever going on with this flu season, it looks like this one's going to be a big whammer, or at least they're predicting to be. So I think this flu season, get the flu shot. Don't skip on it, everyone. Get those vaccinations, y'all, please. Like, COVID is no joke. There are people still out here getting COVID. I know some folks. And there are people that's getting the OG strain, okay, where they're testing positive for longer than, they're feeling better, but they're testing positive longer than what they would expect. COVID is no joke. It's still out here. And so, like I said to y'all before, I'm doing everything in my ability not to get it. And I won't get it. I just knocked on my wooden table right there. That's that wooden desk. And I'm not, playing with it. I mean, several years in this pandemic, we're about to get close to the 3rd year. No COVID in me. And, listen, the way to prevent, serious side effects and symptoms and issues, right? Just keep getting the boosters. Like, this is not the time to let go because it's still out there. People are still dying. Thousands of people are still dying every week from COVID-19. And mind you, there might be some people that's just anti-vax and just thought they could escape it. But you just never know what's going to do to your body. Everybody's body is different. Everybody reacts different to things. And so you don't want to assume that you're going to be a special exemption. Get a booster. Get something in your system that protects you from it. Because I mean, the original vaccines we got, yeah, that was there, but it wanes. And so the more updated you are and keeping up with your boosters and things, the better you off you are. And that's just science and that's just research and that's just facts. So get that updated booster. I can't emphasize it. You can get at CVS. The CVS, if you're in Philadelphia, the CVS's have it. Most CVS's do, probably Walgreens, Rite Aid, but it's out there. The new booster is out there. I got it, y'all. I got it early this week, and I didn't have any major side effects or wasn't tired or anything. But again, everybody's body is different, so I'm not trying to say that it won't happen to you differently, but it's better to get it. And also, while you at it, just go ahead and get that flu shot because flu season is here. Like, and I'm hearing that this flu, whatever this variant is or this strain of this flu, is not looking like is looking serious. That's what it sounds like in the press. But also, I always have not played because the way that I'm out here, y'all, I go to events often. I'm a professor now. So now I'm teaching students and doing different things, and also I'm just very like I'm a little a little Philly socialite in my own right. So I'm going out to events often. Dapping hands. I don't really shake hands as much now, but I'll do a little bump. But I'm around people a lot, and so I just feel like it makes sense for me to make sure that I am as safe as I can be. And so yeah, if I sound like a PSA, damn it, I'd rather sound like a PSA. But I'm very serious. Schedule that appointment. Go in there and schedule an appointment. If you got CVS or whatever, you can schedule online and get your appointment and stuff. And I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to get one of those little 30% off, coupons. I don't play with those. Some of these places got them. I don't play with my 30% off coupons. So some of these places you go into, there might be perks or little discount cards and stuff that you get if you get a shot. But if not, the biggest perk is that you're protecting yourself from these viruses. So do what you got to do. But I'm just telling you right now, it's no joke. You don't say I didn't tell you. That's my mindset. I feel like when I do this podcast, it's my opportunity to tell my listeners and all my subscribers to this stuff so that if something happens or whatever, I want to be able to say, if you hear something, somebody say, you know what, Ernest did tell me. And I'm living by example. Because there's a lot of people that tell you to do something they wouldn't do, right? I'm telling you to get one because I just got one and I'm feeling good and I recommend it. And Dr. Ella Stanford recommends it. And I believe black women. I believe black doctors. I believe black women except, Nicki Minaj and those type of women. But I listen to smart women. Smart women, they're not anti-vaxxers, okay? Out here talking about testicles and stuff. Did you remember when Nicki did that? Oh, Nikki, I just can't with her. And I'm just going to, this is a deviation, but I'm going to just say this. So this whole, I was talking to my husband about this. Mr. Johnson was talking about, he used to be a big Real Housewives of Atlanta fan. Like he used to watch the show. And there's a scene for those who watch who's into, Real Housewives of Atlanta where Sheree and Marlo did this thing where they were like talking back and forth. And it's like a meme on Twitter where they're like, okay. And they were just doing this thing with their facial expressions that's very back and forth with each other. And it was like 5 seconds away from them pulling each other's hair out. But they were just like really, really posing each other. That's how I feel about Cardi and Nicki. I'm just tired of it. Why do you give a fuck about her so fucking much? I feel like both of them. Like, why do y'all care? But really with Nicki, you're so much older. You've been in the game longer. Like, why? Why are you so, why? Like, leave her the fuck alone. And and the crazy part is, I don't see Cardi as antagonist in that situation because I've been following that drama for a long time because Cardi's a Libra and I'm a Libra. Her birthday is October 11th. I'm the 12th. Like, I support Libras. But, bias aside, right? I'm just sitting here just like, why, Nicki? You've been in the game for over 10 years. You've got hits, honey. You finally got your solo number one. Congratulations. Why are you consistently antagonizing Cardi? Like, why? Why does it even fucking matter? I hate watching it. I hate seeing it. And then, of course, Cardi, because she's a Libra and I'm a Libra. I know we stubborn as hell. We ain't gonna let nobody have the last word on us. Okay? If you start something, we're gonna finish it. So I understand why Cardi feels like she got to, but I'm like at a time at some point, I'm like, Cardi, you gotta let that go too. But also, Nicki, just be the bigger person as an adult. And not even be the bigger person, just be a grown-ass person. Like, why are you so insecure? Why are you so bothered? It does not look good on you. You're becoming the person you claimed you was better than, right? Because no shade, she acted like Little Kim was so bitter and bothered with her. She acted like Lil' Kim was just this, hating on the young girl. Remember that? Back when Roman's Revenge came out in 2010, 12 years ago, remember when Nicki was, on her own, thing? She was in her late 20s trying to come in the game and she felt like Lil' Kim was dissing her and playing her and it was all that narrative. Well, you've become the Little Kim in the situation. And Cardi's become the Nicki in the situation. And let me be clear, I'm not comparing aesthetic, style, flow, or look. I'm talking about power dynamics. It just is over. It's over. But at least I will say this. Lil' Kim and Cardi got something in common. That's a Grammy. But, putting my hands up. Just saying a fact. But it's just disappointing. It's just so disappointing. I've over the years, I used to be the biggest Nicki Minaj fan. I guess I was a Barb. And back in 2010, I was a Barb. Okay, when Roman's Revenge, Still I Rise. I used to love Still I Rise. I used to really, really like Nicki. I remember seeing Nicki at the not the Beyonce concert, the Britney Spears concert in 2011 when Super Bass had came, was a big old hit and did it on them and her first studio album had dropped. And I just remember that was a moment, man. Moment for life. Nicki was just in her element. And I remember just being a huge, huge fan. I had Beam Me Up Scotty. I ordered Beam Me Up Scotty. This is how I go way back. When I was in high school, Itty Bitty Piggy was out. That's how much, and we used to be on a bus, okay, in Houston, Texas, singing that damn song. At first, I was annoyed with Nick. I was like, who is this? Why everybody keep singing this stupid song? But it grew on me. I was like, oh, okay, she's different. And I remember Massive Attack, when she was it aired on MTV, and she was just rising. And then the Your Love music video, which is super dramatic as fuck. Watching a Your Love music video now, I'm just like, wow, that was too fucking dramatic. But that was when Nicki was like all into the samurai Asian aesthetic thing, which was a mess within itself. But at the time, it worked. She had the crazy weird hairstyles where they had her look like a clown. But it was just a different era. And now look what happens. Now she's just grasping for straws. And now her fans are delusional. It's crazy because her fans didn't grow up with her. Like Beyonce fans pretty much grew up with Beyonce. Like I don't know how many super, super young Beyonce fans that she has now. But like I feel like it reminds me of Janet Jackson, where Janet Jackson, at some point she just had a certain group of fans and those fans rode with her. Now I'm a Janet fan, of course, but a lot of her core fans, they moved with her, and it's not a super bunch of young people. It's kind of like Mariah Carey fans to a certain extent. I mean, there's a couple young people, I guess, but like Lil Lambs, I suppose. But a lot of most of her fans are like early 40s, mid 30s types of Mariah fans that have followed her and all her antics. And Janet fans are in their 50s, and their early 40s, the core fans. I'm early 30s, right? I'm 30 right now. But and my husband actually is a big fan. But we're not like the core Janet fans, right? The core Beyonce fans are millennials, like young millennials, like actually, we can't forget the Destiny Child ones. I will say the core Beyonce fans are in their 30s and early 40s, but mostly 30s. If you're in the 30s, you're a core Beyonce fan. And that don't matter whether you're from 30 to 39. The 30s is the core Beyonce fans, and in the early 40s, that is the core Beyonce fans to me. Early 40s and all those in the 30s are core Beyonce fans. The 20s, they know Beyonce, but some of them don't know Beyonce. Like we know Beyonce if you're in your 30s. From 30 to 40, you know Beyonce. Anybody in their 30s know Beyonce. Those are real Beyonce fans. Anybody in their 20s, it's like, you might know her. You might have came around during self-titled, but I don't count you. I'm counting the ones who was around when Beyonce was out here, okay, I'm going to say this. If you remember Beyonce in TV commercials, you a core Beyonce fan. If you don't remember Beyonce in TV commercials, and them Pepsi ones don't count, but if you don't remember Beyonce when she was doing TV commercials, and I'm not gonna throw shade on new commercials, but if you don't remember Beyonce in commercials, you're not a core Beyonce fan. If you have not seen the Beyonce, if you have never seen Beyonce in a television commercial, you're not a Beyonce fan. You're not a core Beyonce fan. You could be a little, you can be inspired, but real Beyonce fans remember Beyonce when she was on TV commercials. And I know that sounds random as fuck, but that will tell you a lot about what kind of Beyonce fans we were, because Beyonce has went through several eras, and those who remember her on commercials and been rocking with her still today, you know. If you didn't see Beyonce perform and debut Deja Vu at the BET Awards in 2006, you're not a core Beyonce fan. That is a special type of group. All these other drag-alongs, I'm not, you listen. And to be clear, I've had my moments with Beyonce where I've been a little disappointed with some of the things she's done. But I will say, the real core Beyonce fans was in that era and have carried her ever since. And those are the ones who are going to buy the tickets. Everybody else be playing around with stuff. But those are the real ones. Just want to put that there. And if you disagree, tweet me about it. And if you agree, tweet me about it. But I just feel like that's the core group. So I don't know where that brought me to. I just went this tangent. But I just feel like I just felt some type of way about Nicki and all this mayhem. And I guess the tangent started with the COVID vaccines and how she was an anti-vaxxer, and then everything else came into part. Okay, so White House, okay, Trump barely. So while Obama and Michelle Obama, former President Barack Obama and former First Lady, or my forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, went to the White House to get their official presidential portraits. Those portraits are fire. Finally, good pictures of the Obamas. I have no complaints about those portraits. They're phenomenal. They're fabulous. They look good. I don't care what any of y'all think. Those photos look good. Okay, Obama look good. And Michelle slays. Okay? And those presidential portraits are wonderful. Well, while those presidential portraits are happening, more details have come this week with Trump. So, his former White House lawyer, Ty Cobb, is predicting that Trump is most likely going to get indicted for the insurrection shit. That's what he's predicting. Now, that's a big deal because this is someone who was closely representing Trump in the White House era when he was president. And Ty Cobb sounds very serious about this, okay? This is the guy who represented Trump and was around the White House. And he is predicting that Trump's going to get indicted. I believe that if such an indictment will happen, I doubt it's going to happen before the midterms. It's going to probably happen after. Marlon Garland, can you get some damn envy in you? Put some fire in it. These people don't give a fuck about you. Give them hell. He won't do it. I don't think he's going to do it, y'all. So the indictment's kind of going to come after midterm. If something changes, I'll be excited. But right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So, we'll figure it out. But it's been interesting. The Trump people, they've been, it's been real quiet over there. Not quiet, but quiet. Like, there's chirps, but it's just something about the air. I feel like something's about to fall over there. And it's interesting because Trump's not taking up so much of the media. Not that I want him to take up media space, but he's not demanding it as much. And I feel like something's happening and he's trying to figure that shit out. And it's getting real quiet over there in that camp. We'll see. We're going to see. Well, of course, I would be remiss if I do not discuss this, but I'm going to discuss this with lots of nuance, y'all, because I bet you done heard 1,000 different versions, but I got some thoughts about it, and I want to use this as an opportunity to educate, because there's been some shit going on, and I just cannot. So Queen Elizabeth II is dead. Yes, she has passed away. At 96 years old, she has passed away. Okay? She's dead. She died early this week. It was a moment in history. She was the longest reigning monarch in England in our generation. We'll never have a Queen of England in our lifetime again. No, because the next successors will be men. Prince Charles is now going to be King Charles, her son. And then the next in line after King Charles will be Prince William, who's with Kate Middleton. So then after him, it'll be, I think, we won't know. Who cares, actually, after him? Because it'll be his son, I believe. But, I mean, to be honest, I think that the way these people live, as long as they do, I mean, they will live. They will their power will extend beyond. So we will probably not have a queen in our lifetime, if everything plays out the way it do, based on the longness of the monarchs and the kingdomships. I mean, after William, I believe it's his son. So after Prince William, it will be his son. So it will be many, 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 many. It will not be. Yeah, who knows? Honestly, it should stop with Elizabeth. To be honest, I mean, it could have stopped then, but it could stop with Charles. I mean, just stop all. It's like, why are we keeping the British throne this way? They were horrible. And yes, I'm gonna go into this segment of it. Let's keep it the fuck 100, or 1,000 actually. Um, I know there's a lot of love for these kings and grand rising, queen, all that bullshit. But monarchy in these terms, in the way that the British ruled, these were colonizers. These were not fabulous people. They have definitely done a lot of things. They've killed innocent people. They've taken property. I mean, they have raped Africa of its resources. They have just demolished and just ruined India's leadership, and definitely colonized there. You're talking about Jamaica and other territories that have black and brown people. You're talking about the Irish, okay? They have ruined and have completely devastated leadership and prosperity in these countries and in these continents. Okay, you're talking about Africa as a continent, the role that the British colony, the Great Britain throne, the British throne has done has been disgusting. I mean, Queen Elizabeth was having, jewels that were stolen from Egypt and stolen from other parts of Africa, India, right? Like, let's talk about how did India fight for independence? Like, you talk about the West Indies, you talk about Jamaica, you talk about all these places. Like, it's horrible. You talk about, oh my goodness, just so many territories that have been under British rule. It's horrible. And the many thousands upon millions of people have died over the past centuries upholding white supremacy, essentially. And everyone wants to act like, Queen Elizabeth was this old lady that didn't know. She pushed against, in her 70-year reign, nearly 70 years in power, she pushed against movements and calls for independence in these territories. She was very much so politically getting involved in economics of Great Britain. She was definitely lobbying in countries to keep power and rule. She was no innocent person. And a lot of people talk about, don't mourn the dead. And don't, speak disparaging about the dead. But, like, let's be clear about what we're talking about. Are we saying don't speak disparagingly about white supremacy? Don't speak disparagingly about colonialism? There's voices, academic voices, and there's a black woman in Carnegie Hall and another academic. But Jeff Bezos wanted to single out this woman from Carnegie Hall. And not Carnegie Hall, Carnegie Mellon. The other Carnegie Mellon, this black professor that's there, who was speaking out very vividly about how she felt about, Queen Elizabeth, and how she, wished her much suffering. But that's because this woman came from a family whose bloodline was oppressed by the British crown. And so it's really hard to hear people say, don't speak disparagingly. And then Jeff Bezos singles this woman out because we did find out that she was really good friends with the labor leader over there that spoke out against Amazon, and that Amazon gave Carnegie Mellon, okay, like $2 million in special grant money for resources. And then Carnegie Mellon calls out this black professor and singles her out and talk about how they don't agree with her remarks, but they couldn't shut her the fuck down though, because, she is, someone with tenure, and she's also someone who they couldn't on her free speech. But to single her out in this way and let Jeff Bezos, this woman got threats and all kinds of hate, and this filthy ass billionaire sits up here and singles her out like this. And I was trying to figure out why, but he hates the fact that these groups are unionizing and is coming after this black man who's leading that union charge. He's trash. He's disgusting. He's a horrible person. And you all sit up here and admire these billionaires. Not billionaires like Jeff Bezos, we don't. Not people that target and put a target on black women, we don't. and not in the space of free speech. And it's so funny because people are out here defending the one who's dead. She's dead. She's dead. Queen Elizabeth's dead. She can't hear you. Speaking disparaging about the dead while people are mourning. The fuck? Who's mourning? Why? No one cares any airtime. Okay. Did y'all care about Trayvon Martin? Did you care about all these, when the press was like, oh, he's no angel? But y'all want to talk about speaking disparagingly about the dead. Please. It's interesting because when is there ever the right time to talk about white supremacy? Can anybody answer that question to me? It's funny how everyone's like, oh, this is not the right time. When is the right time? It makes you uncomfortable, right? There's never a right time to talk about white supremacy if you ask white people. I'm going to start asking people. I'm going to start walking around and be like, when is there a time to talk about white supremacy? When is the right time to? Privately? In your bedroom? At home? What time is it to talk about it? Because I've been waiting for a long time to hear when's the right time. No, now is the right time. Now is the right time. And I have so many questions in my mind because I'm just like, come on. It's so much. So much. And so I want to talk about this point. And I took some time to really read this. But there are 15 characteristics of white supremacy culture. Okay? White supremacy culture. And this is very important. I really did some reading on this. The Minnesota Historical Society, the Department of Inclusion Community Engagement, I was looking at some resources around this conversation around the characteristics of white supremacy. There's 15. The 15 are perfectionism, which means this idea to be perfect. That white supremacy culture, these are 5 characteristics of white supremacy culture. And I want to talk about this a little bit because, listen, some of y'all may never hear this anywhere else. And so I want to talk about this. This is for black people too. Because a lot of times black and brown people, we feel like we have to prescribe to these things to survive. This is problematic, and we're actually perpetuating white supremacy by doing it. So let's talk about this. Perfectionism in society, this idea that we have to be perfect saints and angels, that feeds to white supremacy culture because white people never have to consider being perfect in order to live or to survive, right? There's this idea that we have as black people that we have to have everything right, and we're stripped of our humanity, right? Because as humans, we're imperfect by default. So this idea that people have to be perfect or we have to be perfect in order to justify our existence is fucking problematic, and it feeds white supremacy culture. That's number one. Number two, sense of urgency. There's a sense that as black and brown people, we have to be urgent and prompt to addressing issues or responding and reacting to things. That is a trait that white supremacy does to us. They expect us to automatically get things. They expect us to automatically respond and react and show up and be able to be all of the things for them. That's how they treat us on the plantation. That's how they treat us today. The reality is that once again, that strips us of our ability to be human and to make mistakes and also be who we are. So that sense of urgency is it's not there. The urgency isn't there. This idea that we have to promptly adjust and adapt and do things with hurry and steadfastness to their liking is disgusting. Let's think about that. Number 3, defensiveness. There's always an idea about defensiveness. We're always feeling like we got to justify every single fucking thing that we do. There's always a rationale behind it that we provide to white people to assuage any type of concern that they have or any questions. And sometimes we don't push back and say why to them. Like, if we say we need a mental break or we decide to take a break, to white people, there's always this sense that we have to give them explanation and defend ourselves. Fuck that shit. We don't have to defend ourselves. Sometimes we don't. In certain cases, we should just say that's because I said so. The fucking end. 4th, quantity over quality. There is this obsession about more is less. There's a thing that we have as black people where we are oftentimes in this culture where we feel like we have to have more money, more things, more this, possession. And we never take the time to consider the quality of that experience or the virtue of that thing, right? So we do this with jobs where people say, they have to feel like they have to explain a high salary job, even if they don't like the job. But maybe sometimes as black people, we may like something because it fills our passion. So do we have to explain things in numerical value to white people? White people like to use numbers to manipulate, essentially. I mean, that's just, capitalism is something they designed, right? And so a lot of times, we're judging things based off of quantity, not quality. Even the way we talk about movies or music or things of that nature. And sometimes I have to check myself on this. But it's a thing, right? There's always this idea of possessing things and valuing things based on rankings and standards. That is something that white people embedded and created, right? Now, sometimes rankings and things of that nature matters to some degree, but a lot of times it does not, and it doesn't hold that value. And as black people, we should recognize that quantitative numbers often disproportionately do not support us or what we do as art, but yet we somehow have fallen into this white supremacy trap of using that value. Oh, that's the number one top school. That's the this. And like under whose standards, right? White people's standards. So quantity over quality sometimes feeds into white supremacy. Number 5, worship of the written word. Yes, worship of the written word. A lot of times that is feeding into white supremacy. And let me get into what I mean by the written word. This idea that the contract said, the law said, the Bible said, that's white supremacy, right? This idea of judging and determining our ethics based on contracts. Yes, contracts matter, right? I'm not saying that from a legal perspective, sometimes yes, but it's a lot of times where we can see the unethicalness of laws. As black and brown people, we know that there are rules that are oftentimes made to be broken. There are rules that discriminate or are unjust. And sometimes we'll strip other people of humanity based on those written words, right? We'll say, well, the law said, and then we don't recognize that maybe the law is wrong. Maybe that rule is wrong. Maybe we should not judge people based on this type of standard. And sometimes we get caught up in what the written word is. That is definitely a byproduct of white supremacy. I hope you all learning something right now, because I definitely did. The 6th thing, only one right way. The only one right way mantra and mentality has been detrimental, right? And that's a characteristic of white supremacy culture, is that we've been taught there's only one way to succeed, one way to do something. You only college. If you go to college, that's the only way to be successful. That's the only way that you can get this be skillful at this. You have to go to this academy. You need to get this certification. In some cases, yes, being a doctor, you better go to med school to be a doctor. But this one route to success logic that sometimes we have instilled upon ourselves or on others, that comes from white supremacy, right? White supremacists, from the very beginning, we look at the early ages of slavery and colonization, they told us there was one way to freedom, right? One way to heaven, one way to this. And that type of route has hurt us a lot. All right, number 7, paternalism. Well, I don't have to explain this, but white supremacy is built off of paternalism. It's telling people what's for their better advantage, what's good for them. It's the mentality of talking down to every person and telling them based on some level of authority. White people, oftentimes in managerial roles, can be paternalistic. White men to women and to other people, to queer people, to black and brown people. Paternalism is definitely a trait of white supremacy culture. The idea of I know what's best for you and you don't know anything else because of who I am. And that feeds into elitism and other things. Now, either or thinking. Yes, ultimatums definitely fuels white supremacy culture. And what I mean by that is that we live in a society where oftentimes we have to choose the lesser than evil. We're always told in a two-party system that it's either one way or the other way. It's either Democrat or Republican, and we can't dare to imagine a reality where those are not the answers, right? When we look at our society and how it puts us in this position of always seeing everything in a binary, right? When we look at gender, society, race, everything's always put in you're either this or you're either that, but there's also a lot of ambiguity. There's also a lot of openness and nuance, but society, white supremacy, tries to force us into boxes that don't allow us to have that nuance. So that definitely is it. Let me see where I'm going down. So that was number 8. Number 9, power hoarding. Power hoarding for sure. There's a lot of power hoarding, right? This idea that only you can be the one leading at all times, that you purposely disproportionately takes power and disempower other people who have legitimate voices that are actually able to be at the table. This idea of maneuvering through it aggressively and assertively and abundantly. Power hoarding is definitely a white supremacy trait. When you look at how imperialism has happened across the globe, and you look at it at colonization in the West and in the East, that is a byproduct of white supremacy culture. Do not hoard power. 10, fear of open conflict. So we're about to get into some real deep shit. This is the part of the conversation where this gets a little personal. Some of you all take this in. Fear of open conflict. People, black people, right? A byproduct of white supremacy culture is the fear to interrogate, to call out, and to confront. Passive aggressiveness is a reward, is a delicious treat, is a dessert of white supremacy culture. This idea of speaking out loud and having open conflict, that fear is a byproduct. When people say things like they don't want to shake the table, or they call people a troublemaker or a rebel rouser when they're in movement spaces, that is feeding white supremacy culture. The idea to be oppressed and not to feel the need to speak out or to call something as it is, or to speak truth to power and to do so in an openly way, that creates a level of subservient behavior and submission that feeds white supremacy culture. A lot of y'all know that, and I see y'all, and y'all are feeding into it. Another major thing, number 11, is individualism. Oh, individualism. Individualism will get us fucked up out here, black and brown people. This idea that you could pull yourself up by the bootstraps. That, I did it, so how come you can't do it? I got a full right to college, why can't you? When you think individually and not institutionally, that's how you get fucked up. White supremacy culture will love to preach people about self-independence and individualism as if everything is everyone else's fault and that everybody has the same equal opportunity. It feeds into this idea of meritocracy. It talks a lot about, personal issues, self-issues rather than structural issues. It will make people feel like poverty is their fault rather than the institution's fault. Individualism will get all of us fucked up. And a lot of people like to use their own self-success stories as if, now while that could be inspirational, it's not institutional. And you should be careful when being inspirational to people, acknowledging that there is still institutional failures and structural issues. So while people like my story and say, look, Ernest, you've done pretty well for yourself as a black queer man in your 30s with all the degrees and accolades you have. Wow, you did a good job. Thank you for those compliments, and I appreciate you all. But I want to be very clear that that is not every black queer man's experience, and nor is there a society in which that creates that experience for everyone else. So, nuance, people. Now, to 12, I'm the only one. Yes, I'm the only one mentality will get you really lost out here. There's a lot of people that have the desire to be the only person doing what they do. Now, while you can acknowledge that fact, that's not a fact that you should brag about in these situations, because being the only one isn't that you're special or you're great or remarkable. It just may mean that you're in an institution that has definitely marginalized people so much that it created an environment like that. There's nothing to brag about. I don't brag about being the only person doing what I do in certain spaces. I don't brag about being the only few. I don't think it's a good thing. Being the first of things is historic, and there's been many times that I've been the first of things, but mentally I don't ever want to be the only. I want to do work that will inspire more people, and I don't ever like to be in spaces in my personal life where I'm the only one. I don't. When I see a lot of black people who run around talking all this big old talk about how they're the only one at this event and the only person doing this thing, I get real, I feel some type of way. There's a lot of people out here who do this real flexing, and I'm tired of that. I'm tired of it. I'm the only person. And you see these pictures of people and they like to do this whole stuff like I'm different. That shit is just irking to me. Like, I am personally irked by it. I don't find anything personally remarkable about bragging about being the only one doing something in 2022. If you're the only one, the next question should be what you're going to do to stop that from being the case next year. So, 13, progress is bigger, more. So when people talk about progress and flex about progress being bigger or more or better than where we are, I always look at people like, let me be clear. Nah. Like, while it's important to acknowledge that there is progress, right? To always position progress as being something overwhelmingly better in our current societal situation, there's just no way. Not in a society where black and brown people are still being largely mass incarcerated, that we're disproportionately stripped away of jobs and equal and pay equity and access to education and resources and water. I mean, we think about areas like Baltimore and Jackson who had issues with water this damn week, and has been for many years, to be honest. There's no way that you could be out here acting like society overall is progressing better based off a couple of little anecdotal things. It just doesn't work. And to do that is to feed into the idea of white supremacy culture, which wants you to believe that everything is going fine and that these problems that we're currently facing are not as big as people make them seem. No, they're actually worse than what we think they are. Fourth, 14th, this is the 14th characteristic. The 14th characteristic is objectivity. It does not fucking exist. I, as a journalist, know when someone is not a journalist when they say things like, and this is how y'all sound, and I'm not talking about you all on this podcast, but the public. Aren't you a journalist? Aren't you supposed to be objective? You don't know what the fuck I fucking do. You don't know what my fucking job is. You watch some stupid ass movie or TV show that said these terms and you just pick them up on the street. I wish people stop doing that. Or people say things like, so as a journalist, are you supposed to be objective? Do you know what an op-ed is? Do you know what a column is? Do you know what a position is that is not necessarily straight reporting? Objectivity is bullshit. Objectivity is a white supremacist thing all the fucking way. Objectivity, let's get into what it means and what people try to think it means, is this idea that you completely remove yourself from something and take yourself completely out of it and basically tell the facts and tell everything without any type of slant, personal connection or anything like that. Basically a fucking robot. Humans are not that way. Even when I tell you all facts, it comes from the perspective and the voice of a black queer millennial. And so the way that I tell them to you, the cadence of my voice and the way that my emotions are, and how what I choose to focus on and emphasize in the fact telling is shaped by my lived experience and who I am as a person. That is not going to change based off of anything. And so when people talk about objectivity, it's oftentimes weaponed against black and brown people and women when they report and tell stories or try to do any type of work. So when you hear newsrooms say things like to black journalists, I don't know if you could cover that Black Lives Matter protest because I don't know if you could be objective. Well, that's just a way of them saying you're black and so therefore I don't think you can cover this black issue but I have your emotionals. But white people cover white issues all the damn day that involves white people and their objectivity, quote unquote, is never questioned. A woman, right, can cover rape culture, and I remember there was an issue with the Washington Post where a woman who's raped couldn't even cover an issue of rape because they were like, oh, we don't know if you can cover this with objectivity. It's used oftentimes by white men, right, straight men, to basically try to oppress and minimize the voices of black and brown people and women and queer people, right? So the reality of objectivity is it does not actually exist. Anytime people use that terminology, they're actually trying to feed into a white supremacist notion that suggests that black and brown people are not eligible to do their job, to do any work without it applying to their job or impacting in a way that stops them from being effective. That's bullshit. Everybody brings some level of thought and cadence and emotion. It's about being able to be balanced and fair. The words are fair and balanced, not objectivity. Okay? If you say that to me, I'm going to just turn you right off because you're just using white supremacist language. Okay? So, hopefully we got that out the way. Don't ever tell a journalist or ask a journalist about objectivity because real journalists will tell you that shit is not fucking real. Bing, bing, bong, bam, bam, bam. There you go. So, in other news, last but not least, and this is the most important thing that we're going to get to because this is what is recent with the recent news. Right to comfort. So, a lot of people have been asking me, about this issue, right to comfort. Right to comfort is this idea that pretty much it's this belief that those with power have a right to emotional and psychological comfort. This other aspect of valuing logic over emotion, which is so disgusting, right? Because basically, right to comfort in this idea of white supremacy culture means that people are scapegoating those who cause discomfort. So with Queen Elizabeth, I'm talking about right to comfort right now in this conversation. This is the 15th characteristic. And the final one is that we find ourselves in this trap. A lot of you all may have mastered what I said earlier, but them last couple of ones, you're probably somewhere sitting down like, I need to work on myself with this. I hope that you replay this episode and take notes. I hope that you take notes. I have done some self-inspection. There's some stuff I listened to. I was like, let me reevaluate how I go about these things. No one's perfect. No one's an expert. We all have to learn this together and we all have to grow together. But I think that this is an important moment to take a step back because we're moving along through in this movement and in this journey, and I think it's important for people to just self-check themselves as they go. So about this situation, okay, because this has come up. So scapegoating those who cause discomfort, right? This idea that those who when Queen Elizabeth passed away, there were people that felt like all of us, when the Queen died, right, when that announcement came out, everyone felt like we had to stop and focus and have empathy. Why? White supremacists, colonialists, all these people, these fucking rich people who get all this wealth and all this they already control the world's power and resources and attention. Now, you're asking working class people and everyday people and black people to have to stop everything they do and focus and acknowledge this shit? No. No. Unless you're a journalist or a paid media person that have to cover this shit if you have to, the fact that the whole world has to stop for these types of people is disgusting. And the oppressed people and the ancestors and the descendants of those people, why do we have to stop because of something that happened to you? And why are we having to grieve and be told to process how we react to this? And so, right to comfort, this idea that these people are entitled to this comfort and support is disgusting. And then to go further on, is equating individual acts of unfairness against white people, right? With systemic racism, which daily targets people of color. So this idea that you feel like the experiences of white people, right, and white supremacists, people like them, that because of what her hardship is, to act like, because this is what happens. People say, well, what about, two rights don't make a wrong and blah, blah, blah. Well, how dare you compare the two rights, two wrongs don't make a right. Because I don't know what the fuck that means. I do, but like bullshit. Two wrongs don't make a right, they say. But who's to say it's wrong? Why is it wrong? Because I agree two wrongs don't make a right, but this ain't two wrongs. This one right and a wrong. So that means that it's two rights and a fucking wrong. So that means the wrong is still the white supremacy, and what I'm doing isn't white supremacy. And so when we ask people to assuage and consider and stop emotional feelings, like we are not allowed to, that's the idea of logic over emotion. What the fuck does that mean? Right? What does that mean? That, okay, someone who created harm, that's an abuser, that did what they did on the mass scale, they don't deserve a right to comfort. Not by those who were oppressed. And you don't get to dictate it when it comes to white people that's doing it. So when Ronald Reagan died, right? When these people die, Lord knows what black people are going to do when George W. Bush passes away. But when Scalia died, when Supreme Court Justice Scalia died, Antonin Scalia died, what is this expectation that we have to give these people this respect for the dead? Now, honestly, everybody reacts different to certain things. Whether it's dancing, they say dancing or something's great. I'm not someone personally that be pressed to say shit about people. I tell people how I feel when they dead or alive. I don't be giving a fuck. Okay, that's how I am. If you did shit to me when you was alive, you did shit to that, you did. All this like cherry picking of who's going to say what to who and how they're going to say it. I don't play those political games. I think everybody comes from a space where they can evaluate what serves them best and how they should feel and how they should react. I think tone policing, especially when it comes to black people, is disgusting. And to be clear about anecdotes is understand that discomfort at the root of all growth and learning. Welcome it as much as you can. Deepen your political analysis of racism and oppression so you have a strong understanding of the personal experience and feelings and they fit into a larger world. That's what y'all should be doing. You all should come from a space of recognizing this and understanding the why rather than just simply harping on what it is. You don't get to cherry pick that. Have some fucking sensitivity. It makes me think about like my situation with Dinner and Blanc. How people thought I had a right to comfort motherfuckers who was throwing Dinner and Blanc. No, I don't. And that's okay. Food for thought. Let me sip on my recess on that. I had to sip on that because that was deep. But it's real. I'm so tired of people just gaslighting and just all of that. So take that in when you talk to them about the Queen. All this about Meghan Markle and stuff. Just give it a fucking rest. Give it a rest. Give it a rest. Enough. So speaking of things that should be enough, Fetterman's doing really well, it seems like. He's out here on these streets. Montgomery County, he had 3,000 women and their supporters out there for an event he had with the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood in Montgomery County. He had this event, this rally. He's pulling out big numbers. And Dr. Oz is out here putting out pictures talking about he had 1,200 people at an event the other day. I looked at them pictures, and I didn't see them 1,200 people. Them lying about these crowd size, like we can't see these pictures. Pixar didn't exist. And I saw the pictures, and that crowd didn't like exist. Hey, a couple of hundreds, but I don't know what he doing. But I'm happy about the feedback that you all gave me about my special edition episode. I interviewed the Horton brothers, which included Lee and Freedom. Dennis, well, Dennis, his real name is, well, the name is born with this Dennis, but he goes by Freedom. Freedom Horton. So it was Lee and Freedom Horton. The Horton brothers, they talked about their work on the Fetterman campaign and the experience they had with Dr. Oz and just their story about being incarcerated for 27 years for a crime they did not commit. Oh my goodness, that's tough. You know, um, that is very tough. That's a lot. Mr. Johnson is 27. That's how many years Mr. Johnson is alive, and they spent that many years. Like 27 years is a lot, and they had families and children and wives, and in this case, Lee was married. But just the fact that they went through what they went through, and to come out here and have a target on their back like they did from Dr. Oz with a salacious lie that he made is just despicable. But they seem to be keeping their spirits up. They're doing the work. They're trying to get to victory on November 8th, and my hat goes out to them. So, for the moment you all have been waiting for, or semi-waiting for, I'm excited about this topic. The Philadelphia, we got some mayoral candidates. We went from having no names to now having 3 people throw their hat in the race. Sherelle Parker has resigned from city council. Maria Canelo Sanchez resigned. Derek Green resigned. As you all remember from my previous episodes, I've been building up to this. Before the September 15th, there is going to be a special election. Darryl Clark has called a special election for the 2 district seats. So let me back this all the way up. So last week, the first person to declare they was running for mayor and resign was Derek Green. Derek Green resigned and announced he was running for mayor. And right after him, Maria then resigned and now she was running. I believe Maria announced first that she was running, but either or, Derek resigned first. So I guess Derek was first. Derek, then Maria, and then the next day, Sherelle Parker. So Derek Green is a council member at large. All 4 city council people have resigned. The first person who resigned was city council member at large Alan Dom, but he has not declared he's running for mayor. He has said he's exploring a mayoral run, but he has not announced he's running. I keep telling y'all, I just do not see him running. I don't think he's going to run. I could be wrong. I'm not perfect. I mean, clearly. And remember, we're not doing perfectionism because that feeds into white supremacy. I am just simply saying that I don't think he is. I don't really think he is. I just think, he's just tired of city council, and I think he's ready to go. And he knew that he wasn't having any mayoral expectations, so I just think he's just playing around. But I don't think he's going to do it. I think that, I don't know. I just don't see it happening. But he resigned, right? So he was the first, but he never declared. Derek Green came in, right after Labor Day, right? The Tuesday after Labor Day, okay? Derek Green came out in the morning and announced. Maria came right after him and announced. Both of them announced they're running for mayor on the same day on that Tuesday. So they just threw their hats out. And I'm going to get to why my suspicions for that case. Sherelle the next day gave her letter of resignation, and now she was running shortly after. Her 50th birthday was this past weekend. She had a big old party at Rivers Casino. Roxanne Shante, that's a woman, an artist before my day, but I heard she was a big deal back in the day. She was a performer. Sherelle threw a big ass party, big old rally announcement for herself. It was wild. But anyway, in the midst of all of that going on with Roxanne Shante birthday parties, I was trying to figure out, why did all 3 of these individuals, jump out and announce like they did? The reason why I think they did so is because this past Friday was the last day for Darryl Clark to decide whether there was going to be a special election. I hate how they just drag this shit out. Like, this could have been established a while back, but that was the last Friday, the last day he could call a special election. So he's calling a special election for November 8th, which is the day of the midterms, for 2 seats. There are 2 district seats. They don't impact my district, but it will be Sherelle Parker's seat in the Northwest and Maria Canoa Sanchez district that's in like North Philly and Kensington area. Those are district seats. But Derek Green and Alan Dom, they're not going to fill those vacancies for at large. So what I heard is that the office will still operate, but there will not be a sitting city council member there. And that situation will remain in place to the end of 2023. And the primaries will keep those seats vacant. So people will be able to run for those 2 seats. I mean, for all the seats will be open, but basically there's going to be no special election for those seats. He's only doing it for the district. So some of the people who was on the sidelines hoping to run for Derek Green's vacancy in a special election, that's over. They're going to have to run the general race and stick their neck out there. So Aaron Satsumor, the other woman who was over at Derek Green's campaign, his staffer, y'all just might have to just wait until the primaries. Or not, because now the primaries is anybody's sheet. Anybody can run for any of those 5 seats. And it's not necessarily Derek's designated seat or Dom's designated seat, right? It's a game. So I don't think he want to play those games. He's going to let the public decide it. Very smart move. But district seats, those seats matter because you need to have a person in that office dealing with those constituent services. See, when you're a city council member at large, you kind of really don't have, the contingency is everybody, which is citywide, but it's only 2 people left. So it's not like there's a real big gap there per se. It's kind of bittersweet, though, I will say. But I'll get to why I think some of this is bittersweet. But it's a lot. That's a big damn deal. Those are some big shoes to fill, for sure. So I'm really studying that and looking into that. But I'm excited to see it. I know who the candidates are for both seats who are going to be running. I'm not going to name them on this podcast episode. I've been kind of not say sworn into secrecy, but respectfully speaking, both 2 of the candidates I'm aware who are going to most likely run for those special election seats. And it'll be interesting to see if they win those special elections, which it looks like they could because they got the backing of their incumbent. Even though with Maria is a radical. She's really not really banging with the Democratic Party like that. Now, I heard her campaign manager, her person on her campaign is Brandon Evans. And if you've listened to my podcast long enough, you remember Brandon Evans. I'm not much of a fan of him per se. He's the guy who's been all up in the Larry Krasner's campaign manager, the Real Justice PAC, all that Sean King PAC as the political director. He bangs with some interesting people. No shade to Krasner, but more so to damn Sean King. I don't understand why people continue to affiliate themselves with that man and be working with that man and be connected to him. It's just, I know Maria feels like she got to get as much support as she can, but I can't bang with that campaign manager. There's got to be some questions. And that Sean King money and all of that, I'm just not a fan. I can't rock with it. Love her as an elected official, but I just hope she's just keeping an eye on her team and all of that, because those people over there, not my cup of tea. Look at Sean King out here. Just, there's allegedly, investigations possibly on him with his T-shirt line with the New Jersey group. The AG's office in New Jersey looking into that T-shirt, a real one he did allegedly. Their department's out here asking people for questions. Then he's out here trying to do a whole couples, advice situation for couples. Just always in some shit. Not a good look. Not very flattering. Not a fan. And she's got somebody who was, they say her former chief of staff, I believe, is looking for that seat. And then the other person is a Black Millennial Committee person who's really, really close to Sherelle, loyal to Sherelle, that will be getting that seat. And that's a man, and it's a woman for Maria Canoa Sanchez. So I didn't name names, but I left y'all some breadcrumbs on. Y'all go figure out who I'm talking about. But it'd be interesting to see those seats get filled. The other people that's involved for the other at-large seats, they're just going to have to do what they got to do for the at-large. Good luck to them. But it's going to be an interesting time. The reason why I say this is kind of bittersweet is because Maria, even though I think it's time for people to evolve and to move on, there's some big shoes to fill. Maria Canoa Sanchez has been for years, for decades, the only Latino person to have a district seat. She's the first Latino woman to get elected to a district seat. And she's been the only Latino city council for many, many years, y'all. She's not the only one who's ever been, but in recent years, she has. And so now we don't have Latino representation on city council right now, at least for now. Maybe the special election will change things. But as of right now, we don't have a Latinx voice of city council in Philadelphia. So that's some heavy shoes to follow. Derek Green, we have plenty of black men. We have plenty of black men in city council, right? But what made Derek Green great is because he was such a practical man. He was somebody who did the work, for sure. 8 years, close to 8 years on, second term he's in, right? He just let go of his nearly 8 years on council. But a very, very, very hardworking man, a simple man, a man with big ideas. He definitely epitomized what it means to be a city council person at large. His ideas were broad. The things he addressed, they were wide. I mean, the things he talked about for autism awareness. He has an autistic child, son, who's now older now, but his work for autism, and especially in the black community, was powerful. He's such a nice guy. My personal admiration for him really is that he was a city council member that stood up and created a bill that really was inspired by all of the advocacy work and journalism I did on neighborhood racism. He created a bill that got passed unanimously in city council that addressed racial discrimination and discrimination of any kind. It was an anti-discrimination bill that basically put tougher sanctions on commercial properties and activity in the city of Philadelphia that violate the Fair Practices Ordinance. So people who was found discriminating, they could lose their license. In the past, they would just get slapped on the wrist with a fine. The sanctions went up to possibly losing their license. And this was inspired by all the coverage of racial discrimination in the LGBTQ community around neighborhood bars and things. That's what I covered extensively for Philly Mac when I first started as the LGBTQ editor. But what's great about that bill is it's not a gay bill. It's not a neighborhood bill. It's a bill that can impact all of us, right? So when you think about these nightclubs out here that discriminate against, putting these stupid problematic dress codes up and discriminate against black and brown men and women at these nightclubs and bars, if a call to Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations, PCHR, and there's an investigation, this is the place that's consistently doing it, rather than just simply slapping them, risking a fine, they can lose their actual commercial license, which will stop their business altogether. That's a pretty big damn deal. And so Derek Green did that. Derek Green introduced that bill. Derek Green got it through committee. Derek Green got it to city council, and it got signed and and it was unanimously done. And I'm just happy that the journalism work that I produced helped inspire it, because he even acknowledged that reading my articles and seeing the press that I did on it motivated him to see what he can do. And Derek picked up the phone. He called me. He called other activists and community people that was involved in that and really applied real serious work on a legislative end. And so I that kind of leadership, not on city council, is going to definitely be missed for sure. Now for Sherelle Parker and Alan Dom, good luck, y'all. Well, I don't even mean good luck. Best wishes. That's what I'm going to say about them for now. I'll have more to say down the road. But actually, I'm not done yet, because I got a little bit more I want to say real quick. It's been a lot of parties and announcements and all this going on. There's a lot of these political operatives and people out here trying to tell black people, black and brown folks, how to vote. Trying to reimagine and redesign and revamp certain folks who basically ain't been shit for years when they were serving. I'm not naming names. I'm just saying. There's a lot of people out here, these political operatives and all of these influencers and whatnot, that's out here trying to push certain candidates in our faces. And all I gotta say is that a lot of people like myself is going to remind people and ask the questions of, well, it's interesting that you say that, because I remember when your position was this, and this. A lot of these people took some real stances that were ridiculous, supported some policies that were ridiculous, was silent when things were happening, which was ridiculous. And now all of a sudden they want to wake up and give themselves a redo and act like they're something they're not. And I'm just going to tell you, history remembers and people don't forget. And we're going to remember this when we go to the polls. And there's going to be a lot of conversations that these people are going to have to do. So all the confetti and the cute little posts and all that stuff, that's cute now. That's fun. Have your fun. Ball out, have a party now, and act like everything's good. Have your concerts and your gatherings and your listening tours. Do all that now, and have your people out here acting like, you're a different person. We already dealt with this with Kenny. A lot of people ran around here acting like Kenny, right? Kenny, who was a former mummer. Kenny, who never really spoke up about racial issues that much when he was a white, Irish, South Philly dude for many years in office, over 20 years in office, and all of a sudden he runs for mayor in 2015 talking about, decriminalizing cannabis or whatever and ending stop and frisk and all this, and put on this whole facade. But when it was all said and done, our people were still getting tear gassed. Our people were still out here being disrespected. This was a man who literally was, can't wait to end his job, couldn't wait for him to resign. And all those black folks in the Northwest, those coalitions, backed that man, stood by that man, never checked that man on a lot of fucked up shit he did. So I will never forget, okay, who was in that room and who said what and who did what. And I encourage y'all not to either, okay? History never forgets, and neither does people. So, just going to put it like that. I'm going to say it like this again, and this is going to be my mindset from this campaign. History never forgets, and people always remember. On to the next case. So I'm gonna keep this section short and sweet, but because so many of you all messaged me, asked me my thoughts on is it gonna change? So over the weekend, if you found out or you didn't care, because I get it, Ray J's out here going double down about Kanye and trying to help Kanye with this Kim Kardashian situation, and he just feels so much like, now it's this whole thing about they're black men and the Kardashians are coming after these black men and yada yada. Oh, shut the fuck up. He's now wants to tell us now that Kris Jenner was the mastermind behind the sex tape, and she wanted to put the sex tape out, and she was the one behind it, and it was all this stuff to make Kim famous. And what's wild to me is that as much as I wish that wasn't true and I'll be disgusted by it, I think we kind of already figured that, y'all. Like Ray J, like you're not telling us a shocker. I just think it's very pathetic that this sex tape's been out for 15 years now, and now all of a sudden you want to act like you're going to tell us this big surprise reveal. Dude, you're in the 40s now. Man, I'm about 30 now. Like I remember this was talked about when I was in high school. I remember when this was talked about when I was in high school. I have now done with college, master's degree, finished it all. Like, nobody cares. And now you want to sit up here, you're mad because you're being framed this way. Dude, when it was good for you, it was good for you. It was good for y'all. Making songs. I hit it first. Playing into the second. Y'all all played into it for your benefit. You, Ray J, stop playing fucking victim. And Kim better not be playing fucking victim. Y'all both played this up. There was the original Mimi and Nico, okay? Because remember when Mimi was doing the whole on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, for those who observe, and Mimi was like, oh my goodness, this sex tape leak, they took our film, and then people were like, it was professionally shot, and they think, well, we had to do more clips because the producers couldn't say it wasn't so. It was just such a stupid lie. And they kept this lie going because it had to leak, because heaven forbids people participate in adult activities and are responsible for their actions. The lure, the lust of the idea of it leaking is what they wanted. And the idea to do it for fame and attention. And the fact that Kris Jenner would exploit her daughter like that. And the fact that her daughter felt like this was the only way she could do it. And so it's almost like all of these people said about them, you can't even feel sorry for them now, because it was basically everything that we knew. That they were attention-seeking whores, that this was all a grift. And at this point, they've gotten into the hearts and minds of so many people that it's too late. Like, I don't think there's nothing that can take the Kardashians down at this point, because so many of these black men definitely clout chased and rode off of their fame and notoriety for their own gain, okay? Including Kanye, right? Yeah, Kanye may be the richer individual in this situation, but Kanye used Kim as a muse to fuel his energy, his turn of identity. He's almost like, really, he's a pop cultural icon. And a lot of that is because he wanted to have the bad boy rock star attitude. Like, he wanted to have the type of career that had him linked to so many famous women and have all that. Like, he manufactured that. While people like Elvis and Michael Jackson and all these people, kind of just had these unique lives, I feel like now there are celebrities like him that really so badly want to create that type of mentality. Like, oh, I was with Amber Rose, and I married Kim Kardashian. And Kim did it too, right? Kim wanted that idea, that identity, the same way of Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe and women like that. Like, they both played off of that fame hunger together. A fame whore married another fame whore. Like, that's just what it is. And Ray J, child, like, you listen, the only reason why you're mad is because somehow capitalism and reared its ugly head, and somehow you're getting impacted by it, and you're also thirsting. We're talking about a whack ass sex tape that came out 15 years ago. A whack ass sex tape. Nobody looked good in that video. I mean, nobody looked good in that video. Nobody. Ray J, whatever. Like nobody do. And then now his whole Ray J's whole entire shtick has been, I'm gonna play the guy who's got relationship problems. Like him and his Princess Love situation. You're married to the woman, you don't want to be married to her, y'all gonna break up, you're not gonna break. I mean, it's just like, it's sad. My hearts and prayers go out to Brandy and Sonia Norwood in the Norwoods, because honestly, what an embarrassment. Like this man, he's made a way for himself, but like it's just now has become so caught up in all of the stupid fuckery. Just disappointing. So that's that. Hopefully, no, I don't care anymore. Unless Kim admits it, I don't care. It's not news to me anymore. So this came up on my desk, and I'm fascinated about it, and I know it's kind of common, but I'm gonna talk about two things that came up on this topic. So there's been some news, not really news, but there was a situation. A TikToker went viral, a black TikToker. She went viral. Her name is Duly, and her handle is at Bullyastic. It's Bueli is her name, and Bullistic, I guess, at Buelistic. The video has received more than 600,000 views on her TikTok, and basically, she claimed she was denied service because she did not tip. And in her video, she was just talking about, she stitched another TikToker, I suppose. I don't have TikTok, but I've read about this. But basically, she was like, including another person who says nobody is obligated to tip. And so she agreed with this person. And she's a tattoo artist. And she says she encourages all her clients to tip tattoo artists, especially those who make a living of it. But she says that it's not a requirement. Her stance is that she doesn't believe that tipping is a requirement. She says the creator, went into, she is somebody that, kind of have this viewpoint, She talked about a situation which was a restaurant that she's always loved to go to. And, she went with a group of friends and she sat down and none of the servers showed up. And basically, apparently one of the managers came and told her that they would not want to serve, they don't want to serve them anymore. And this was based on the fact that she did not tip the last time. So there's been debate about this. And there's been another debate about another issue. I'll get to that in a minute. So in an idealistic world, right? And I'm talking idealistically. Idealistically, because I'm going to tell you how I really feel. But I'm going to just lay the principle. Idealistically, we should live in a world where tipping should not be an issue. People should be being paid livable wages. People should be, being paid what they should. And restaurant owners, shame on you all for opening a restaurant that does not pay your workers enough that they have to depend on tips as a way to live. I think if you're a restaurant owner that cannot provide your servers a decent living, that does not require their living and livelihood to be codependent on tipping, is disgusting. And let me tell you, and there's a lot of people that do it, so I'm calling out some people, but I got to keep it 100. There are some people out here, okay, in the restaurant industry. Tipping is not defined by service. The idea of basically being nice, having a smile. I've seen many black and brown people work hard at an event or a restaurant, and they will still not get tipped. They would have been the nicest person, the most respectful person, or whatever, and they will still not get tipped anything decently. Or they it would be something. And it's like that, and there's discrimination in it. There's disproportionate discrimination in how someone gets tipped and how they don't. There's a lot of people I know who will only work at restaurants that are really upscale because they know that hopefully at the upscale fine restaurants, they'll get paid more. But then there's people that work at smaller restaurants or diner type restaurants, and tips are very, very smaller. And it's like, that should be no way that someone should live. If you're working, you're serving, you're busting tables, and you're serving, and you're cleaning. And then also times, servers get responsible for service that doesn't impact them. So if you go to a restaurant and the food is cold, and the food doesn't taste good, That's the line cook. That's the server. I mean, that's the line cook. That's the chef in them. That's not actually the server. But because the food didn't taste good or someone didn't like their experience as far as the food goes, the server gets penalized. And that often happens where a person, I've seen and hear people say, oh, the food, the food was okay. I mean, I guess, or I wish my food didn't, that was this on my food. I don't want to tip. That does not impact the server. The server gets that tip. And so to me, it's just like, it's not a good way. It's a horrible way to do it. People should be able to get living wages and not have to require being like, could you imagine if you, like, okay, if one person had something happen or they're traumatized or something sporadic happened, maybe they're not the best, friendliest person, but they're expected to be. Do you know how many times we have jobs where we may not be in the best mood or we working or doing something, but there's nobody else experiencing or receiving that energy from us? Would that stop the way we get paid or how our salaries work or how our payouts get work? It just should not. It's just so fucked up. But anywho, we know that's not the case. So idealistically, people should get payable wages. Idealistically, tips should be just something if you want to do, right? And to some extent, I mean, to be real with you, restaurants should charge for food in the prices as they should, or do what some places do, which they automatically put 20% gratuity. Shout out to the wonderful folks at Fork. Ellen Yen, who's a wonderful owner. She owns Fork. She owns High Street. I went over there for happy hour this week. It was fabulous. And Ellen Yen and her restaurant group, including Michael Solomon, my good friend who owns the Hive, and them, they put a 20% gratuity automatically to the bill. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. Put the gratuity on there. Charge me up front. I don't want to have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel good knowing that people are going to those restaurants and folks are automatically going to get paid regardless. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. So I'm happy to hear that. More restaurants should just make that a universal thing. It should be a universal fucking thing. Every fucking restaurant in Philadelphia should have a 20% gratuity or charge the food in a way that is equitable to pay. You don't gotta go to a restaurant. You don't fucking gotta go to a restaurant. So now I'm getting to my other side. You don't gotta go to a fucking restaurant. You don't. It's a luxury. You may not think it is, but it's a luxury. It's a luxury to go to a fast food place. It's a luxury to go to a sit-down restaurant and pay for a meal and have somebody serve you. Now, fast food restaurants, people don't serve you by default, right? So get what you gotta get. Get your Wawa Hobie on. But sit-down restaurants with servers and shit like that and menus, you're not entitled to go. So if you can't fucking get your coins together to do a holistic experience and tip these servers, don't take your ass to a fucking restaurant. That's how I feel. Okay, you go run tell that. My thing is, if you go to a restaurant and you want to sit down and you want to do all of that, people are serving you. That's part of the fucking experience. If you ain't got the budget to do it, then don't fucking go to a restaurant. Go make your own fucking food or get that food to go and eat that shit outside. I'm serious. I don't like, I think this, like, this back and forth about tip, like, it is a part of it. But really, though, I need restaurants, for people like her, who ain't gonna come out her own pocket, put it in the bill. Force it in the bill. Up front, 20%. Do it like that, because people want to cut corners. If you go into a bar, a restaurant, you better tip people. Stop playing with people. Like, that's stupid. And then when it's up here have a debate, it's not a fucking debate. It's not a fucking debate. Anything like that, you just fucking do. I think when I hear people make these debates, it's ass. Talking about another debate. There was some privileged Jack and Jill type kid or whatever on TikTok. Again, I don't have a TikTok, but people are sharing the videos from TikTok to social media. This guy raises this question about birthday dinners, and he said that, he thinks if a person is having a birthday dinner or a birthday party, it should be up to the person having the birthday party to, pay for it or whatever like that. Like they should, host them because it's their party and it's their guests. They should pay for them to go out because it's celebrating them. Whoever that person is, that's not your friend. You should be friends with that person. I don't know what fucking planet they're on. Here's what I will say. We're in a recession, people. We're close to one, right? We're dealing with inflation, we're dealing with prices. I'm for the mindset that if it is somebody's birthday, this is my mindset. I have different thoughts. I'm about to give y'all different scenarios because I'm in different places now. Older, my experiences are different. I'll put it this way. So if my standard is if it, if this is the Ask Ernest section of the situation, if y'all have questions, a lot of y'all propose this to me. DM me, ask me some questions about something. I'll answer it. I won't name you. I'll just read your question. I won't name you. It'll be anonymous, but I'll put out the advice or the question. I'll give my advice through the podcast. This is one of those times. So let me say this about this. Where I stand on it is that if it's your birthday, okay, if you want to have a dinner party and you want friends to come, invite your friends. Now, what I do as a dinner party expertise, I think what you should do though is if you're not going to pay for the dinner, this is what you do. Now, if you're going to pay for the dinner, that's a different story. We'll get to that side in a minute. But if you're going to throw a party at a dinner party and host friends, and you want people to come and you want them to pay to come, then I think the onus is on you to make sure that you accommodate that space. So if you're having a dinner party, and I believe with more than 4 people, that's important, more than 4 people, then you need to, number one, make a reservation. You need to, one, get a prefix menu, and you need to be upfront about the cost or the situation upfront, because that will determine things. So what I have done in the past when I've had parties, and everything changed in the years. I'm going to get to that in a minute about my thing, but I'm just talking about my past. In the past, I would have dinner parties, and I would have big dinner parties. I would have like 20 people or, whatever. I will call the restaurant, tell them, look, I got 20 people coming. They might ask for a deposit. I might pay for the deposit. If they'd ask for a little deposit or something, it might be my meal. My meal might be the deposit price, whatever the case is. I will pay the deposit, or I'll just reserve the space. I will get the prefix menu, the date and information. I will invite my people, tell them the details, and tell them to opt in. If a person looks at the menu and say, look, that dinner price, that situation, I can't go, or, I don't want to, that's, I can't afford it, whatever the case might be. I haven't had those issues. I've had, I think many years ago, when I first started doing dinner, there's always like that one person, for different reasons they can't go. Then, I say, hey, that's fine, no worries, no problems, whatever. Now, courteous friends in those situations will say, look, we can get together and do dinner another time. I don't have it right now, or I can't go. Now, what I've done in the past, though, is I try to plan it in advance, where it's not like, first of all, if you're doing a large dinner party, you should not bum rush people. You should let people know at least a month in advance. Now, let's be clear. If you got friends that's been going to your birthdays and know you and been going out with you, you should be at that nature where your friends should be like, yo, what you doing for your birthday this year? What you got coming up, if they're your real friends, okay? I've had enough dinner parties enough where my friends know, okay, it's after Labor Day. We know Ernest's birthday is in October. What's going on? What's the plan, bro? They'll hit me up and stuff, and I'll be like, I'm thinking of something. I got something coming up. But it's like a thing. Like, I have friends where I don't care what it is, but I know when their birthday coming, and I get my coins, but I don't gotta be told, because I know whatever it is, I need to have myself ready for it, I got people like that. Like, I know, like my birthday stuff is heavy in December, January, and February. All of these Aquarius friends I got, all these Capricorns and Sagittariuses. Like, it's dry throughout the year, except for my one Cancer friend and a couple people that spot. But I got a bunch of Capricorn friends. I got Gio, oh my goodness, Gio and Josh. They all back-to-back birthdays. All these people birthdays. Josh, Gio, my mama, Amanda, all like the same fucking week. And then we get to the Aquariuses, and I got Mr. Johnson, I got Manny, I got Sharon, I got people down there. And then in December, I got Lauren, I got Jessica, I got Nina, I got Cindy. I got all these birthdays are back to back to back to back to back to back to back. Okay? That is the traffic of my birthdays happen around that time. And then, of course, my bestie is the 4th of Jamarcus. So that's an easy one, because we all know around that time we just clear everything out. But it's with them birthdays, y'all, them birthdays back to back in them clusters, I just mentally know, okay, I gotta budget, I gotta plan, I gotta, whatever, strategize. That's what we do. Now, if you're new to a circle, you might have to adjust. But I feel like that's how it goes. But as friends, if you're gonna have a party and you want people to be a part, and you, whatever reason, can't pay for everybody, whatever, you want to have a large crowd, then let your friends know in a timely manner. Let them know what the price in the situation is, and give them a choice to opt in and opt out. Period. That's it. That's what you do. Just give them enough time. I will say at least a month in advance, let them know what the plans are or something. That onus should be on you. If you want to throw a party for yourself, you need to at least give people, and you don't want to pay for, everybody to eat or whatever, make it accommodating. To me, my pro tip is prefix menu. Because one of my besties, I'm not going to name him, but he went to one of his friends' parties. Now, I don't really care much for the other friend, but he goes to this person's party. And they, about six or seven of them, they go to Budokan Chow, and this person, they run this bill. No prefix, nothing. And they just want to split it evenly. And my friend just asked some fried rice and some chicken or something. So it's like, you just, you gotta, some people are not respectful. Now, when the Lit brothers get together, it's four of us. Okay, the boys, we don't have any problems. We go out, we all drink around the same amount of weight. We all share things. We share our appetizers. We drink. We know when that bill come out, we split that shit 4 ways, unless we balling with a gift card or something in the mix. That's how we do. Now, everybody can't do that, because some people, they're a little different. But if you go, listen, if it's 4, like I say, if it's more than 4, it's a problem. You need to fix that. But if you got 4, and your people, like, we ain't splitting. Sometimes one person at the table may get it, whatever. But your crowd, your vibe, you can read the room. And it's etiquette. It's etiquette. It's etiquette. It's etiquette. My whole mentality is, if you go to a dinner party and you don't drink, I'm not saying you can't drink. But all I'm saying is you better make sure you memorize your situation or be charitable. Because if everybody at the table drinking, you're not drinking, not to say you got to drink. I'm just saying get you a side or get you something, because the flow. So I will say, if you're doing dinner parties with people, always get a prefix menu. I don't care. All that a la carte stuff will fuck the bill up and confuse people. Prefix menus are manageable, because at that point, people come in knowing how much they pay and are accountable to the bill with what they bought in liquor. Because at that point, if everybody in the same meal and paying the same cost of food, that's an easy controllable variable. Liquor is your responsibility, right? You choose what you choose to drink, and you need to manage responsibly and budget responsibly. So if the bill comes out and you drank more than other people, you might want to go ahead and ask for that drinking bill to be separate on the bill from the general bill. So there'll be one general bill, y'all split that evenly, and then make them pay separately for their drinks on the bill. So ask for a drinking bill that's separate from the food bill to not make it hard for those who don't drink. A little pro tip. Now, case scenario number 2, which is where I'm at right now. And I'll get to this idea. You might be somebody that may be balling and might have a party where you got the catered party. You got the catered food. You throwing your party. You say, look, I'm inviting my group of friends, and I'm covering the cost, because I got a sponsor, a hookup, or a connect, whatever the case is. But you telling your friends, just come. Let me tell y'all something. People say, oh, that's free. Let me tell you something. That right there is the difference. To me, if you go to somebody's party and you doing all of that, and then you better bring a motherfucking gift. And it better be a thoughtful gift. It better be a nice gift. Don't you come up in there with a card and some $25 gift card. You better bring a nice gift, and you better be respectful and thoughtful. Because if somebody's giving you an open bar and a full-fledged meal and let you eat and have a good time and party and mix, and you ain't got to worry about anything but yourself, you better bring a gift. It better be a motherfucking gift in there. So me, I may or may not be having a birthday celebration that may be like that. My guess, no. You better come up in there with something. Don't you come up in there talking about some empty-handed like you didn't know, okay? Because let me tell you, parties like that, it's thoughtful to it. But you can do that because you might say, you know what? I really want to do something special. I put some thought into it. Or I really want to go to this restaurant, and maybe individually per person might be super expensive, but a party situation might be a better allocation, right? But if you're going to do that, again, if somebody throw a party like that, be thoughtful. Be intentional. Now, if it's a dinner party, people got to pay, whatever. Hey, if somebody bring you a bottle of wine or a bottle of whiskey or something like that, that's what you get. Because at that point, it's about the presence and the people and the experience. You don't expect much gift. So I've had dinner parties where, in the past, where I, had an upfront menu and people did bring gifts, but, everybody brought mindful gifts, or they just brought themselves a little something. I never sweat it, because the fact that they was able to even show up and we wouldn't put money down and spend time like that, I thought that was thoughtful. That was my opinion. But parties that I've had recently, I haven't necessarily, I've made them open parties. They were already catered and it was already paid for. I was kind of like, the gifts were a little bit more abundant and heavier then, as they should. I think of it like weddings. Like if you go to somebody's wedding, like, wedding gifts, etiquette, y'all. Come on, y'all. Just saying. Just put it out there. My thoughts. Take it or leave it. But I've heard a lot lately about this, and I just thought I was going to add my little tidbit. So the Emmys are this week. By the time this podcast episode comes out, the Emmys will not be yet. Maybe the Emmys, by the time you listen to the podcast, the Emmys may air. I don't know. Emmys are on a Monday, which is kind of weird, but they've been doing that lately. I don't know why they're doing it. They're fucking up my Love It Hip Hop, my Queen Sugar hour. I don't know. Well, Queen Sugar is not on Mondays, but they're just fucking up my schedule. But I gotta stop and drop everything and listen to it. There was supposed to be some event I might be going to. I might switch that over because I got to get my ass to watch the Emmys tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on Monday. Super excited. I really, 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 really want Abbott Elementary to win. I keep hearing about Ted Lasso, but I think Abbott might pull it out. Janelle James got to win Best Supporting Actress. I got my money on her. People say Jean Smart might win. I've been hearing multiple predictions. Let me see what they're saying right now. It's been some interesting predictions. Everybody got different ones. I'm hearing different things. So people are saying that, well, for starters, I think Succession is going to win drama. It should. People talking about Severance. Fuck Severance. Succession better fucking win, okay? I don't care what y'all say. A lot of people think that Abbott Elementary is going to win. I think it is too. And I think it should win. The White Lotus is going to win Best Limited Series. No need to get into that. Now, drama series, everyone thinks that Best Actress is going to be Zendaya. I think Zendaya going to win too. This should be the second one. Should be the first black actress to get it 2 times. Never happened in history, but she's going to break history and do it. Best actor in a drama series, I mean, Squid Game's actor might win. But then again, I don't know. I have a funny feeling that Bob Odenkirk might pull the upset surprise for Better Call Saul. I can see it. But people think Jeremy Strong is the lead. But I don't know, y'all. I could see him winning. Best lead actress. Everybody think Jean Smart is gonna win, y'all. Jean Smart might win, but I don't know. Quinetta Brunson might pull it off. She might. You know what I'm saying? She's the first black woman to be nominated for a comedy series in a long time. She'll be the first woman to win, I don't know. Lead actress and writing in the same year. I don't know. But then people thinking maybe Issa Rae. That's a tight race. Flight Attendants in there. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Hacks. The Great with Elle Fanning. I don't know. It's complicated. People think Steve Martin is going to win Best Comedy Actor. I still think Jason Sudeikis could win for Ted Lasso, but people think Steve Martin could pull it off. Lead actress in a limited series, definitely going to be Amanda Seyfried. I mean, she's going to win, period. Lead actor in a limited series, actor, not actress, Michael Keaton for Dope Sick. I mean, clearly. But, Himesh Patel, but Variety Talk series, last week tonight, is going to clearly win. Supporting actress in a comedy series, it's complicated. I think Janelle James is going to win. But people think maybe Cheryl Lee Ralph could pull the upset or Kate McKinnon. But I don't know. I'm going to say Janelle James. I think there's a plug for her to get it. Best supporting actor in a comedy series, people are saying different things. I'm hearing Ted Lasso again. I could see Ted Lasso again getting it. But then people are also saying Brett Goldstein this time around, but they was like Nick Muhammad. So, I mean, either or, one of those two could win. Best supporting actress in a drama series. Everyone's saying Sydney Sweeney for Euphoria. I don't know. After all that Trump love support with her folks and stuff, that might complicate things. But, I mean, it could be her. But some people are saying, Jung Ho Young from Squid Games. It's complicated. I don't know about that. Now, that best supporting actor in a drama series, I think it's going to be Matthew McFadden from Succession. I just really think if y'all saw Tom, y'all remember Tom in Succession, that ending, I ain't going to tell it for spoilers, but I was in chills. And I walked away being like, he should get it. So I don't know. Anything can happen, but it can also be Oh Young Soo. Because let me say that from Squid Games. Because Netflix got that Netflix money, and I don't know if Netflix is going to politic its way through. They politic its way through the SAG Awards and other categories. I don't know what they're going to do over here. It's a really interesting year because it could be predictable. It's a lot of new shows, a lot of missing variables. You don't know. Best Supporting Actress in Limited Series, Jennifer Coolidge. I think she will win for White Lotus, and also Murray Bartlett for the for that as well for the White Lotus. Those are my acting categories in my series. That's who I think. That's my predictions. I could be wrong, but that's who I'm feeling right now. As far as other things I've been watching, y'all, Hunk for Jesus. I gotta say it again. It's been a week. Watch it. It's streaming on Peacock. If you have Peacock, you could watch it for free. But if not, go find a movie theater. It is the most fascinating film. And I said this last week, but I rewatched it again, this time with Mr. Johnson, and it's just such a very, like, eye-opening film. Very fun. Like, they had a good time with that film. I mean, Regina Hall is just phenomenal. She's fabulous, okay? Regina Hall is comedic genius. Her timing is perfect. And Sterling K. Brown, oh my goodness. What can he do wrong? Like, where does Sterling K. Brown, like, where does he go wrong? He's just comedic genius and just such a godsend. His acting is incredible. That's acting. And the versatility. It's not what you think it is. The trailer does not do it justice. Speaking of other things that surprised me, The Woman King with Viola Davis that comes out in theaters on Friday to everyone. The Woman King, oh my God. Where do I start? It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal film. It's the bomb. It's thebomb.com. Love that movie down. An incredible film. A genius film. Remarkable. 5 stars. All the stuff. Well performed. Great acting. Incredible acting. I'm mesmerized by the film. Really beautiful film. Viola Davis, like, took a film that it could have been, it's just so good. What work? A blockbuster film. You know, blockbuster films can be so corny and cheesy. This was well done. And the theme and the energy, a well done film. Highly recommended. It should be doing, I hope it does well at the box office. I'm actually going to go see it again. I have some Cinemark movie passes. I still get those monthly movie passes to my account. All of my friends and people I know, I'm going to try to convert them to get them to see it. Look, Amanda, if you want to go, y'all want to go as a group, we can all get, I got a bunch of movie passes I got to get rid of. So if y'all all want to go to movies this weekend or something, let's all see it together, we can. But it's so good. I cannot praise it enough. Recommend everyone go see it. It's a great film. I can't say anything more than that. Loving Hip Hop, still watching. Queen Sugar's back. I'm trying to do something different with Queen Sugar. I'm trying not to watch it all at once. I'm trying to, like, let 2 or 3 episodes, because this is its final season, so I don't have to be loyal to, like, being a part of the ratings, because the show is going to air on its own. So I don't feel like I have to loyal. Like, there's some shows like I watch when it comes out because I want to support the ratings. Like Abbott Elementary, when it comes back on September 22nd, I will be watching. I already have it DVR'd. Like, I'm into it. But as far as the other shows, you know, like Queen Sugar, it's on this final season. I want to see more episodes kind of come, and then I'm going to try to watch them in bulk. Because shows like that get me too anxious and too hyped. Like, I'd be like, oh my God, I can't wait. You know, I don't know what to do. I can't know what to expect, you know. So I'm, you know, taking it all in and everything like that. So, you know, seeing where it goes there. But yeah, you know, overall, this has been a week, as always. And this week coming up is going to be fun. I have some couple of events I'm going to for sure, and some other tea and some news coming down the pipeline as always. But you know, I mean, it's the life, and getting ready for this show and getting ready for everything that's coming up. So, you know, as always, I just really appreciate you all listening. And also, I forget this. If you're new or you haven't done this, please go to if you Apple Podcast and give it the show a rating, a 5-star rating, okay? Like 5 stars. Or 4 stars if that's the highest. But 4 or 5 star rating. Give it a high rating. if you've been watching, you listen, you love it, write a rating, give it a score. A lot of times, because my show was very, pro-black, and very woke, I suppose people would call it. You get those trolls who like to just come in, don't even listen to the show, don't even know what they're talking about. It's so funny because I can tell when people listen to my show and don't, but they'll just sit up and say just the corny stuff, but they'll give it a low rating on purpose. And while many people have given it high ratings, it's always annoying when those other people just kind of come in and do that, because then it just distracts from the overall level of the show. Now, that doesn't impact whether or not I'm going to do my show, because I'm going to do my show regardless. But oftentimes people who listen and admire the show, they may not realize, oh, I didn't give it a rating. I didn't take the time to do that survey or that thing. That shit matters. I realize with restaurants especially too. If I love a restaurant, I do go on Yelp or go on Open Table and give it a rating or give it something, or go on Facebook or Google, really Google, because people really love those Google ratings. And if I like a restaurant, put pictures of the food up or give it a rating and talk about how much I love it and just put reviews up and stuff. That stuff matters, y'all. It really, really do. And as somebody who's in the business on the podcast angle, ratings do matter. Ratings do help increase visibility and also how the stuff goes in the algorithm. So the more people that are giving ratings and giving reviews and saying good things about the show, the more it helps its exposure and its visibility increase as well. I mean, granted, I'm grateful to have the platforms I do to push the show out, but also it'd be nice for those following those platforms like Apple and Google and whatever, because we're not on Spotify. We're not on Spotify. As long as somebody asks, when are you going to get off of Spotify? When Joe Rogan is off of Spotify, I'll come back on Spotify. How about that? When Joe Rogan is off of Spotify, that is when I will be on Spotify. And so if that means the answer is never, then that means I'll never be on Spotify. And I'm cool with that, because I know there's a lot of issues to be said about all these platforms, clearly. But the fact that the Spotify CEO just basically turned a blind eye to the type of racism that Joe Rogan has, the homophobia and disgustingness he's had, the stuff he said about black people, I'm referring to Joe Rogan, and all of that, the fact that that was tolerated, the fact that, that was just allowed on a bigger platform like that, and this man was offered even more money to stay and have a contract, disgusts me. So I can't support that. And I don't want to be affiliated with it personally. I don't want to be affiliated with it. You know what I'm saying? So, no. But if he leaves, I'll be back on there. So for all my people, Apple, Google Play, go on my website, ErnestOwens.com. Y'all know the rest. Go on there, click on the listen, and you can listen to the podcast there. But it's open. You don't even have to have Apple Play or subscription or whatever to do it. You can just listen to the show. But whatever you're doing, there's no excuse to listen to the show. But show love if you can, as always. So, that's all I got to say for now. I see we're in Virgo season. I'm counting on Libra season as always. But as always, be well. And of course, be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ErnestOwens.com.